Nice to have you here. I'm Jacob Hornberger. I'm president of the Future of Freedom Foundation. As many of you know, FFF is a nonprofit educational foundation. Our mission since our inception in 1989 has been to present an uncompromising moral, philosophical, and economic case for the free society. If one must put a label on what we are pure libertarians at the Future of Freedom Foundation. The philosophy of this conference is that, and the reason we decided to have a follow-up conference on the same subject, is that, as everyone here knows, these are the two burning issues of our time: foreign policy and civil liberties. It's impossible to achieve a free society, and this is what many advocates of liberty do not understand. It is impossible to achieve a free society without addressing what is going on with respect to foreign policy and civil liberties and putting our nation on the right track with respect to these two subjects. We've got an all-star lineup. In all my years since I discovered libertarianism 30 years ago, I have never seen a greater all-star lineup of speakers ever at a conference. To tell you how things are going to be operating, the introductions of the speakers are going to be extremely short so that they can have the maximum amount of the 1 hour allotted to them. If you'd like to check out their longer bios, they're in your packets, or you can go online. The schedule will be extremely tight. We're going to be running on time just like we did last year. During the Q&A session, of course, we have the microphone set up, I guess, here in the middle, and that's the way that'll be handled. But keep in mind, please stay on time. When on the evening sessions, they'll be in different rooms. Arrive a little bit early because we don't really know where the rooms are, so you might have to look around a little bit for the dinner rooms. We got display tables from some of the other libertarian free market organizations. Feel free to take their samples. We've got books for sale at the registration desk. We've got DVDs and CDs for sale from last year's conference where the speeches were absolutely awesome. Tonight, Ron Paul, assuming everything goes well with a vote that's scheduled in Congress, is planning to be here between 4 and 5 to autograph copies of his book. He goes on at 5. We have C-SPAN coming for the evening sessions. They'll be covering Ron Paul as well as Stephen Kinzer and Andrew Basevich. So that's going to be rather exciting. I'd also like to introduce you to our staff members. We're committed to making this the most enjoyable weekend of your life, at least intellectually speaking. And I want you to know all the staff members. Stephanie, would you raise your hand there? Stephanie's our events coordinator. And Alicia Cannon is our operations manager at FFF. And Bart Frazier is our program director. And we've got 10 student interns that are here to serve you and make your stay as enjoyable as possible. And on their name tags, they're identified as intern. I'll explain to you a little bit about our sponsors and our sponsorships. You'll notice that the front rows are reserved for our sponsors, and that's the way it's going to be at the meals too. And just so you understand what that's about, your registration fee essentially covers the cost of the meals, and that's it. That's how much the hotel is charging us, so we don't make any money on the registration fees at all. We just transfer it to the hotel to cover the cost of the meals. So how does the rest of the conference get funded? The speakers, the travel, the hotel expenses, and so forth. Well, that's where our sponsors come in. And so as a way to say thank you to our sponsors, we set aside the reserve areas and so that everybody else will understand what's going on with that. If you'd like to become a sponsor, there's still time to do that. Just see Alicia. We'd love to have your support. I know there's a lot of contributors here to the Future of Freedom Foundation. I want to thank you very much for your support over the years. We're a small organization, but we like to think we pack a wallop, and it's because of the contributions that you've made to us over the years that we've been able to do that, and we're very, very grateful for you helping us to continue the work that we do and to have a conference like this, and we hope to do these in the future. So welcome. We're committed to making this, again, the most enjoyable weekend. You let us know if there's anything we can do. Contact me, Bart, Alicia, Stephanie, or any of the interns. The year 1989 was one of great celebration. For that was the year in which that hated and reviled symbol of empire, oppression, tyranny, injustice came crashing down. And it wasn't just the people of Germany and the people of Eastern Europe who were celebrating the demise of the Berlin Wall and the freedom from domination of the Soviet Empire. It was also people all over the world, including the American people. And it was especially a time of hope and optimism for Americans, because Americans had this sense that for the first time since World War II, they might actually have the chance to live in an era that was free from the threat of perpetual war, of militarism, the garrison state, the warfare state, the massive military-industrial complex, ever-growing military expenditures, and of course, the enormous amount of taxation needed to fund the Cold War expenditures. Here we are, almost 20 years later, and we find ourselves, once again, living in an era in which there is the constant threat of perpetual war. We live in a country in which the president has the unrestrained power to attack any country on earth, including countries that have not even threatened the United States with attack, and without even the semblance of the constitutionally required congressional declaration of war. We live in a country in where the president's subordinates, the CIA, can go into any country in the world and kidnap any foreign citizen with immunity and with impunity, and whisk those citizens, disappear them into secret prison camps, perhaps forever, or even worse, rendition them to a foreign brutal regime, an allied regime such as Syria, regimes that they even deny talking to, even though they somehow or another make the prearrangements to have those regimes torture on their behalf. We live in a country where militarism is the order of the day, where Washington officials walk around with an air of self-importance and pomposity that would probably have even embarrassed officials in the Roman Empire. A country in which there are military troops stationed in more than 100 countries around the world, in which they have posts and bases in almost all 50 states, in which the military now has the authority to sweep into neighborhoods and communities here in the United States and arrest whomever they want, simply by labeling him an enemy combatant in the so-called war on terrorism, and cart him away to a military prison camp anywhere in the world and treat him accordingly. Torture, sex abuse, waterboarding, beatings, indefinite incarceration, maybe even execution. After a trial, of course, before a military tribunal, a kangaroo tribunal, whose officials are answerable to their superiors in the Pentagon and the president. How did it come to this? How did this happen? How could we go from a period of such great hope and optimism from the so-called peace dividend